In just a minute, we'll be bringing Sean Carroll back in. Thanks again to the Langley Federal Credit Union, the City of Hampton, the Raptor industry. Thanks to USAA, proud to serve the great country. And our great country now is being blessed by Sean Carroll, swinging in really fast. Once again, a nice round of applause for Kyle Franklin. The Yakovlev Yak-9, designed to fight the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force.
The German.
Sean Carroll is also a very, very well-known air racer at the Reno National Air Races. But I want you to look to your left, as at over 300 miles per hour, this amazing airplane, over 35,000 of the Yak-1, Yak-3, and Yak-9 aircraft were built during World War II. Production on the Yak-9 actually ended in 1953, going on 56 years ago. But back in the mid-1990s, at the factory where the Yak-9s were built in Russia, parts were discovered. Unused parts, and enough to build from scratch enough to build 7 Yak-9 aircraft. In other words, it's a 60-plus-year-old airplane, but it's flying with brand new parts, only assembled recently since the mid-1990s. This was number 4 of those 7. Holding it inverted, Sean Carroll is now tilting his head back and looking at the runway, staying lined up on that 1,000-foot line, throws the stick over to the left and into the upright position. This guy's a very, very talented pilot, and he's just done some significant work on it, changing the radiator and finding that the temperatures are now being handled so much better that he can fly it faster than he ever could. Now, I said radiator. Most aircraft engines, like the radial engine you saw on Kyle Franklin's airplane, is an air-cooled engine. Most of them are, but this one is a liquid-cooled engine. As a matter of fact, as Sean does his 4-point roll, this aircraft has in it an Allison V12 engine. It was originally designed for the Russian Klimov engine, a V12 engine, but this one has 1,600 horsepower. The Allison engine, this same engine was also in the United States Army Air Force's P-38 Lightning, the twin-engine aircraft that was the mount of America's leading ace in World War II, Lieutenant Richard Baum, from Superior, Wisconsin. But as Sean Carroll dives in, let's listen to the different sound of this engine, this liquid-cooled V12. To a super slow roll across the line. The original P-51 Mustangs were also equipped with this same Allison engine. But the Mustang was actually designed for the Royal Air Force initially. And after it didn't perform particularly well at high altitude, the Royal Air Force took some of their engines, known as the Merlin V12, and they put the Merlin engine that had also been in their Supermarine Spitfires, and the P-51 Mustang became the superior performer that it is. From the right, let's see, I think we're going to bring him in from the right here for a photo pass. Watch him back here to the left. Get a nice shot right down there along the line. Keep the right hand, keep the other feet up. What a great time Sean Carroll is having. Of those 35,000 Yak-1, 3s, and 9s. A majority were Yak-9s, and the production was so great on these aircraft that production at its peak hit 70 airplanes each and every day coming off the production lines in Russia. It was also flown by several Allied forces, including the French and the Polish and the British. And many early U.S. kills during the Korean War were against Yak-9s that were brought into service at the dawn of the jet age. There's a big old barrel roll, starting and stopping at the same altitude and airspeed. That's the job of the pilot, rolling around an imaginary spot in the sky, 45 degrees and up and to the left of his airplane. Look at the climb rate. This is just a phenomenal airplane. It had air-to-air missions. It had ground attack missions. It even worked as a light bomber. Now, in this particular aircraft, he's got a back seat in it, so we can take a passenger. But it could carry 2 bombs that mounted vertically behind the pilot where his rear cockpit currently exists. And they would be dropped straight down rather than having the bombs under the wings, causing drag, causing the performance of the aircraft to not be as good. The Yakovlev Design Bureau people put these bombs inside the aircraft, opened a little door and dropped them straight down and straight out the bottom. Once again, let's listen to the V-12. This is also a very, very fancy paint job. The colors are pretty much the same as they would have been back in World War II, but he's got fancy paint on it, I'll tell you that. Downright fancy paint. You could also, this also could carry 8 rockets, and it also had 2 12.7mm machine guns and a 23mm cannon on it. Again, new production aircraft with original parts from over 60 years ago. From the right. The Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, had very, very talented pilots. But they did still report over 94,000 aircraft missing in action during World War II. More than 62,000, about over 2/3 of the losses were on the Eastern Front against Russia. And most of these losses were attributed to Yak fighters. And for the ladies in the crowd today, let me fill you in on this one. There were 12 Russian women pilots who became aces, scoring at least 5 aerial victories flying Yak airplanes. So way to go, ladies.
That'd do it with cars. That'd do it with vehicles.
Sean Carroll in 2002 was racing this Yak at the Reno National Air Races. In the unlimited bronze class, he scored 3rd place with a qualifying speed of over 360 miles per hour. And as I mentioned, the first engine designed for these was a Klimov V-12 engine. Well, this particular airplane, as you see it here, was the first Allison-powered Yak fighter to ever finish a race at the Reno Air Races. Look at the wide stance of the landing gear. Very similar to that of the North American P-51 Mustang. Made it a lot more stable on the ground. Slowing down to about 130, 120, 110, and just about 90 miles an hour on touchdown, doing a beautiful wheel landing. And as he slows down, he'll let that tail drop. Saying a great big thank you to the Langley Federal Credit Union, our top sponsor. Thanks to the City of Hampton, America's first, the F-22 Raptor industry. He's an aircraft number 3. He's from Lafayette, Louisiana. His wife Kelly is watching. And the parents and family of Lieutenant Mike Hijack Fritz are also here. He's from Batavia, New York. Ladies